Well, US President Donald Trump has landed in Saudi Arabia for the first time, first stop on a tour that will see him to go on to meet Israeli and European leaders, as we just saw. And while Saudi leaders have said that the visit has eased tensions between the two nations, controversy at home continues to plague the president.
Well, Professor Ed Blakely is a former White House staffer for both the Republican and Democratic presidents. He joins us now. Ed, good to see you this morning.
Good to see you.
Gee, where do we start with this? Because the news just keeps coming as far as these scandals in the White House is concerned. The latest, we had this report out of the Independent newspaper in the UK, basically pointing the finger at Jared Kushner as the man identified as being under investigation in the White House. That's not clear, but clearly someone has a source there. Can you tell us a bit about Jared Kushner's role in the White House at the moment?
Well, Jared Kushner is the deal maker in the White House. He's the president's right-hand man. He made the deal with the Saudi Arabians for $100 billion worth of arms. He's making the deals with the Israelis. He's the president's point man. And he's a presidential advisor, as I was, and has all the burdens of that and all the responsibilities of that. But he has the trust of the president. The reason he's under suspicion is for the reason that he would be the go-between if there were anything between other nations and the president. This is what the White House does. It makes the circle bigger. The FBI does. It makes the circle bigger. And as the circle gets bigger, some people say, I better tell what I know now, or I might be in trouble.
Would this be looking at since Donald Trump became president, or perhaps before that, during the campaign, with these alleged links with the Russians?
Well, there are two parts to this. One of them is the president, since he's become president, has done things that may be considered removable from office under the 25th Amendment, Section 4. If the president does something, and it doesn't have to be much, the vice president can recommend to the cabinet that he be removed. Most people don't know about this, but the president has done several things that fit this category, including the latest one that might be foreign intelligence leaked to the Russians.
So what do you see as President Trump's greatest problem at the moment? Is it Kushner? Is it Comey testifying at open hearings? Or is it this 25th Amendment that you're talking about?
He is his greatest problem now because he continues to do things that bring light on the wrong subjects. What he should do is be presidential. And that's say very little about this, the incidents that have occurred. By opening up the door, calling Comey names and things like this is going to infuriate a lot of people in the FBI and Comey. Now Comey's going to testify. If Comey says or implicates certain things, that pushes that on. He could have said, Mr. Comey is gone. We're very sorry about that, but he wasn't performing his duties. Leave it alone. But he's gone on and on this topic. So he is the problem.
We haven't heard from him, though, but correct me if I'm wrong, about this latest political turmoil since he left on his first trip, though. Does that surprise you, that he hasn't embarked on a Twitter tirade or he hasn't gone and briefed media?
No, his daughter's with him. I think that the message is getting through to him. The more he says, the worse it gets. And now he has Mueller, an ex-FBI person, and he has to be very, very careful. This is not just an ex-FBI leader. He is a very wily man. And that's why we're hearing this, about these people under investigation now, about the scope of the trial or the investigation widening, and all this. The FBI is on his side.
Ed, are you saying that he is now so distracted that his agenda has stalled?
It has not just stalled, it stopped. Healthcare, stalled, perhaps stopped. The wall, stalled, definitely stopped. His biggest agendas about keeping foreigners out in the courts. What's left?
Well, job creation is what he's, certainly that's what he's trumpeting at the moment when he's overseas. Jobs at home. Is there evidence that he's actually creating jobs at home?
Well, some of those jobs were in the pipeline before, and certainly his presence has given the markets confidence And that's created some jobs. But the jobs he's really creating are in law firms. The people in the White House are lawyering up. The White House is getting lawyers itself. Most of the people who are implicated in this are getting lawyers. So if you go to New York and you need a criminal lawyer, you're going to have to get in line. Or Washington, D.C. So I would say, and remember Warren Bernstein said, follow the money? I say, follow the lawyers.
What timeline do you put on all of this? Is this going to be swift moving? We have 3 investigations currently open into the Russian links with the Trump administration. It's seemingly he's had his 100 days in office. We're 4 months in. However, the appointment of Mueller on Friday would suggest that the pace at which this investigation might flow will be speedy?
It will be very fast, but it's going to come from all directions. He now has the Congress becoming serious about this. So congressional investigations are going on. He has the FBI investigation going on, and he has the Department of Justice, Mueller. These investigations, and I was there in the first one and knew a little bit about the second with Clinton, these investigations take a certain turn, and that is they try to round up everybody who might know something. One of those people, like John Dean, will open his or her mouth to save themselves. Who's John Dean this time? Flynn.
In your view, the word impeachment has been bandied around at the moment, the possibility that he would be impeached. What would the trigger be for his impeachment? Given those 3 investigations, one's criminal, I guess the other 2 are fact-finding.
The trigger will be whether he tells the truth. Remember, the 2 other impeachments were about perjury. When the president commits perjury, he's on very slippery ground. And that's where they're going. Will he tell the truth about what he knew and when he knew it? If he does, he implicates other people who will go to jail. If he does not, he's impeachable. He's in a very difficult place.
So would you say he's in a lose-lose position?
There's no recovery from this. The presidency, and that's what we have to look at here. Not the president, but the presidency is in trouble. Because when the presidency started losing ground, you can't pass legislation. You can't move anything. I was there with Nixon. The government came to a standstill. This is what we're talking about. So what's the answer to that? We have a president in the wings. And the nation has to move forward. The Congress has to decide who will this be. And if the man who's there can't do the job, they'll seek another.
Bottom line, does this come down to the fact that he is incompetent in the job?
I'm not the person to judge that, but other people who judge these matters are saying yes. And the first person who said it was Obama. This man does not have the temperament for this office. Now that temperament means telling the truth regularly. That temperament means being elegant, being the person who shakes hands with foreign dignitaries, the person who's warm and careful. And then there's eloquence.
And is it that he is ill-advised or simply does not take advice?
He takes no advice from anybody but himself. Remember, he says, I'm cleaning up the mess. I fired the man. Presidents don't do that. The presidents say, on the advice of. So that's being presidential. After a while, the Congress stops paying attention. That's where things slow down. That's what happened with the Nixon administration. The Congress stopped paying attention to the White House. Then the various departments start paying attention to the White House. So the government cannot run that way. No company can run that way.
Just briefly before you go, for those who might not be aware of the process of impeachment, if he were to be impeached, what would the process be from there?
Well, the first thing is the word impeachment means that you have been found to have done something wrong. It does not mean removal. Removal is done by the Senate, and the Senate acts as judge and jury. So they get a bill of impeachment, a list of things that the president has done that may lead to removal. If the majority, I think it's 2/3 of the members of the Senate, vote that that is the case, you are removed from office. We've never had that happen. The reason for that is the president usually has at least 2/3 of the people on his side. In this case, I think something else will happen. My bets are removal before impeachment.
Professor Ed Blakely, always great to get your analysis. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.